I remember as a kid, my first drawing was with a #2 pencil, no eraser, on a napkin sharpened with a butter knife. The Annie Fisher School had a mascot, the Devils, which was inappropriate. So they had a contest to come up with a mascot and a visual concept for the gym uniforms, and I won. And when I got up on stage and got my little $25 check, and all the girls and the guys that I wanted to be friends standing up clapping for me was more than an affirmation for me that there's something here. Like when I see my own work, I still feel like the general public. It's not a smug feeling whatsoever, it's just satisfaction and that you were able to create something that will be here when you're gone. You know, and your grandchildren will look at it, that's Grandpa Ellis. And because our stories weren't told all the time. You know that. We didn't win the war, so this is a way to keep my story, and it's at least my immediate family and the Hartford arts community and Hartford community at large. My sculpture, it's very personal because it's my grandmother, and she's my favorite all time. And you've seen her. She's the lady with the cigar in her mouth. Half the time you see me do, it's a tribute to my grandmother. In high school, I did a sculpture, and I did it with a butter knife and some ivory soap. And I took a hanger as a base, and took a block that my grandmother got for something and won first place. And my art instructor looked at me and says, don't waste it. So now I'm working in this platform called Deep Dream Generator. The way I use it, I don't just settle for the result of the algorithm. I sort of use it as a tool to help me meet other needs outside of the tools that can't do what this thing does. Processors are connected like our brains are connected. So the way it looks at my work, it says, okay, I'm fascinated with this because this is the future for our kids. And I want my kids, their friends, and my contemporaries to at least be aware of this is going on. And so when kids see art, and this facilitated it, all of a sudden they become interested in computers. They're not intimidated anymore. It's welcoming. And so that's why I like the concept of STEAM, because that's where technology truly meets art for the sake of kids. Took some roses, and I said, wrap them around her head. The roses, because that's her it's a play on words. Plus, if you're in the theater, you know that after any great performance, you get tons of roses. She's just straightforward with her look and her gaze, and I loved it. I started with a plain black and white, and then I colorized it. So this was the final sort of base art that I said, all right, apply these algorithms to. And at the bottom of this, you'll see her face, and then you'll see Gustav Klimt. I love his texture, so I applied some Gustav Klimt textures. You can see how the roses changed. And then from there, I applied, this is a painting of some surrealist. He's like a Mad Hatter, Jack-in-the-Box thing. But I love the colors. I didn't want the shapes. I wanted the colors from this piece. I was going to dictate the shapes already. And so that's where the shadows said, I'm going to be red, and the highlights said, I'm going to be blue, based on the algorithm and the parameters I put in. And so that's basically it. And then I bring it into Photoshop and do some modifications here and there, shades, fix her rose, fix her lip, brighten her eyes, and then change the hue and saturation some. There's always tweaking. So it took me about maybe 20 hours and about 50 passes. Today is my first day seeing it at this size. And so when I saw it, I lost my breath. It does have the painterly strokes. I was deliberate. But you can see the roses, how they undulate between hues, and that was from that painting you saw with the Mad Hatter. I wanted that. I didn't want it just to be pink. And then I put some gold images where the earrings were so that the earrings would really pop as gold. And then the algorithm says, this is where I stop, man, and this is where you got to go to Photoshop, Ellis. So I went into Photoshop and fixed some artifacts. I left one in there to show that this is what I consider an artifact. That's part of the AI. I left it in there. I want to remind myself that this is AI. And so eventually it figured out what I want. This makes it eco-friendly. So I have kids, I have dogs, and there are some materials that are toxic, in fact. So this makes everything clean and efficient. Now, is it art? I'm not going to decide that. You know, that's for the folks who get paid to write about this. That's their job. But one thing I do know, it's going to be around longer than them.